No much song, yeah?
Go ahead.
One guy that I really attached myself to was an artist.
To a market.
Holy fuck, that fucking hit me. Yesterday, me and Sierra almost got killed by birds. Bro, it was actually, bro, what are you just slapping with the
lobsters.
because he actually had built a shipbuilding dry dock on the other side of the bay, and he could see directly over there to the shipbuilding dock from this house. Now this house, just a personal story, used to be owned by my dentist in recent years, and about 6, 7, maybe 8 years ago she sold it. However, she does still have a little building beside it where she still has her clinic. We're actually crossing over a viaduct, which if you look in this direction down, this is the Trans-Canada Highway. This highway takes you through from one end of the west side of the city to the east side of the city. But if you look in that direction, if you were to drive about 4 hours, you would reach Halifax, Nova Scotia, which is where you folks are going tomorrow, right? It's a great place for people like to take their wedding pictures there, their graduation pictures there, because the park is always immaculately groomed. Now on the driver's side, we're going to pass another park. It's called Rockwood Park. And this park is the largest park that is wholly contained within a city. So it's 2,200 acres of unspoiled natural beauty. Only living son, Arthur Irving. And you'll notice when we get up to the gates that they are wide open. Now what does that tell you? Something about this community. He feels safe enough with this kind of a property to leave his gates open all day long. So coming up on the door side, you're going to see 4 houses that look identical. They're 4 in a row. These were built by Robert Reed, and they were a wedding gift to his daughters. He had 4 daughters. The fort out to you when we go up the hill, protect the St. John River from American privateers. So we have a fantastic view of the bay here. I want you to look just past these cranes here. There's a little island in the back there behind the last crane. So you're going to see a blue church. This is St. Luke's Anglican Church, and it was built by the Loyalists well over 100 years ago. Now the stained glass windows in the building were manufactured in Canada, and they are said to be the best preserved set of windows in the local area. It was previously built by Count Dewberry. He was an engineer by trade, and some people say he bought his title in Italy. Others say that he was a Belgian count. We don't know. Houses on this side of the street, and the St. John River is behind them. They could watch the product go up and down the river. But all the sea captains and shipbuilding people would build their house on the driver's side of the street. And that's because they could see the bay from there, and they would go up to their cupolas or widow's walks, and they would watch their ships come in and out of the harbor. Now this beautiful, impressive building on the door side is the New Brunswick Museum. It was built starting to get damp, and they didn't want the artifacts to be ruined, so they moved the museum to the uptown area. Now the city has a plan to bring the museum back here, and they're going to renovate and expand that building so the museum will be back in its original home. This is the park that Mrs. Baisley built on the driver's side. At the edge of the park here is the Gregory home on the door side. of the mahogany in the funeral parlor is original to the home. So as we take the turn here, you're going to see on the driver's stopped at dead was a terrible storm that night, but the driver couldn't see anything going on, so he got out to take a look, and just as he did, a big bolt of lightning lit up the sky, and he saw that the bridge had been washed out. Many people who live on the north end and the west side, they will walk. If they live uptown, they will use this path rather than bring their car uptown, which really is convenient for a lot of people. This building here on the door side is a naval training center, one of the few in Canada. In period costumes, and they take you back about 5,700 years, just where it all began, right? They tell you the whole story. It's always usually somewhere near the water, but every year it had a different spot. And so now the city has given them this permanent home, and if you want craft beer, live music in the evening, local craftspeople, many retail outlets. It's just a really great people place. And it has been designated a World Heritage Site because of its significant architectural features. And you can see by the architecture, of course, but also the dates that are on the building, that many of these buildings were built after the Great Fire. Take a look up on the hill here on the door side. These houses, these wood frame Queen Anne style houses,
Sounds familiar.
so on the door side, just after this tree here, you're going to see a round sign, and this used to be the Seamen's Mission, still called the Seamen's Mission building. Architecture here, folks, it's amazing. In the middle, you see these three figures at the top. In the middle is the god of speed, and it's said that that is supposed to be significant because it's Canada Post, which is supposed to be speedy. Well, we want that changed to a slug. However, nobody's listening. Coming up here where this patio is, you'll see above the second story windows white crosses painted on the buildings. After the Great Fire, they painted many of these buildings with white crosses, and that would be indication to the firemen where people were gathered for rescue. You can have offices in one of these buildings, and you can get to the city market, pick up your lunch. You don't have to put your coat on. You don't have to go outside. Perfect.
okay.
What's up with my glasses? It's hazy. Yeah. I thought it was my glasses. Oh, no, that's...
Yeah, that's true. And there was a bird on She was still chasing it.
We're faster.
We're bigger, too.
Ooh, it's getting cold out.
It is. Freezing. The plane was better than they had last night.
You ready for the meat now?
So